Thank you for listening. This course was created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional podcasts, books, newsletters, and cool merchandise await. Let's get started. Threat modeling serves as a disciplined process for anticipating and addressing risks before they manifest in harmful ways. At its core, the purpose of threat modeling is to provide a structured way to identify potential vulnerabilities within complex systems, particularly those built on artificial intelligence pipelines. These pipelines process vast amounts of sensitive data, learn from it, and then produce outputs that can directly influence decisions in real-world contexts. By modeling threats systematically, teams can anticipate how malicious actors or even well-intentioned users might misuse a system. It also ensures that the conversation about security is proactive, not reactive, guiding design choices from the beginning. Importantly, threat modeling integrates security with responsibility, aligning technical safeguards with ethical considerations so that AI not only functions correctly but also resists abuse and minimizes unintended harm across its entire lifecycle. Artificial intelligence introduces unique characteristics that demand an expanded view of threat modeling compared to traditional information technology systems. Unlike classical IT environments, where the primary attack surfaces may be servers or applications, AI brings new dimensions such as data, models, and outputs. Data becomes a prime attack surface because its quality and integrity directly shape model behavior. Models themselves can be targeted for theft, extraction, or corruption, as their parameters often represent immense financial and strategic investment. Outputs also act as channels of risk. If manipulated, they could spread misinformation or encode harmful biases. Together, these elements broaden the scope of threat modeling, reminding us that defending AI requires examining vulnerabilities not just in the infrastructure, but in the very processes that give these systems their intelligence and influence. Structured frameworks help bring consistency and rigor to threat modeling practices. One well-known example is Stride, a framework originally designed for software systems that can be adapted to AI contexts by considering threats such as spoofing, tampering, and information disclosure in relation to data and models. Another emerging standard is MITRE Atlas, which catalogs adversarial machine learning techniques and aligns them with practical defenses, serving as a living resource for practitioners. Industry-specific frameworks are also being developed to address the specialized risks of healthcare, finance, and government applications of AI. The importance of a common taxonomy cannot be overstated. Shared language enables professionals from different organizations and disciplines to communicate clearly, compare risks, and collaborate on solutions. Frameworks bring structure to what could otherwise be an overwhelming and fragmented exercise in predicting adversarial behavior. Data, as the first stage in the AI pipeline, introduces many opportunities for compromise. During collection, malicious actors might insert poisoned examples designed to sway model behavior in subtle ways, such as mislabeling categories or embedding biased associations. Labeling is another vulnerable point, where errors or intentional manipulations can alter ground truth in ways that influence training outcomes. Incomplete provenance, meaning unclear or missing records about where data came from and how it was processed, creates uncertainty and makes it difficult to evaluate trustworthiness. Sensitive information can also inadvertently leak through poorly managed datasets, exposing private details. When threat modeling addresses these risks, it pushes teams to scrutinize not just how much data they have, but how reliably that data has been curated, validated, and secured against both accidental and deliberate contamination. The training stage of artificial intelligence systems is equally fraught with vulnerabilities that threat modeling must capture. Manipulation of model parameters can occur if adversaries gain access to the training pipeline, allowing them to subtly alter weights or introduce malicious backdoors. A backdoor might, for example, cause a model to perform normally under most conditions but behave erratically when triggered by a specific input. Transfer learning, where a pre-trained model is adapted for a new task, can be exploited if the original source was compromised or if malicious features remain hidden within reused components. Exposure of intermediate training artifacts, such as checkpoint files, can reveal sensitive insights about datasets or architectures. Recognizing these risks emphasizes the need for controls not only around the data, but also around the technical processes and infrastructure used to shape AI systems during their formative stages. Once models are deployed for inference, the threat surface changes but does not diminish. Prompt injection in generative systems has emerged as a prominent concern, where adversaries craft input text to override or manipulate intended instructions. Similarly, adversarial inputs subtly altered data designed to mislead classifiers can trick systems into producing incorrect outputs without raising obvious alarms. Unauthorized access to model outputs may allow attackers to reconstruct internal knowledge, effectively extracting the model over time. Another risk is the leakage of training data, where carefully crafted queries cause the system to inadvertently reveal private examples it was trained on. These risks underscore that deployment is not the end of security concerns. Rather, inference is a stage where malicious creativity often thrives, demanding continuous threat modeling and adaptive defenses. System-level threats remind us that vulnerabilities are not limited to the data or the model, but extend across the broader environment in which AI operates. Integrated toolchains, which often link together data preprocessing, training, and deployment, can be abused if not properly secured, as a single weak link can compromise the entire pipeline. Monitoring dashboards, while essential for observing model performance, can themselves become exploitation points if attackers gain access and manipulate displayed metrics or alerts. Supply chain vulnerabilities, such as compromised libraries or dependencies, present another major risk, as AI projects often rely heavily on open-source components. Finally, poorly secured deployment infrastructure, whether cloud-based or on-premises, can expose models to unauthorized access or tampering. Threat modeling at the system level requires a wide lens, encompassing not just algorithms but the entire constellation of supporting technologies and operational practices that make AI possible in real-world settings. When examining potential attackers, threat modeling also considers the motivations that drive them. Criminal groups may target AI systems for profit, seeking to extract valuable models, data, or insights that can be sold or leveraged. Nation-states, by contrast, often pursue espionage objectives, attempting to gain strategic advantages in intelligence, defense, or economics through access to AI assets. Insiders, employees, contractors, or partners pose a different challenge, since they often have privileged access that can be abused for personal or ideological gain. Activists or hacktivists may also target AI deployments they perceive as unethical or harmful, using disruption as a form of protest. Understanding the diversity of actors and motivations allows organizations to prioritize threats realistically, matching defenses not just to technical weaknesses, but also to the types of adversaries most likely to exploit them. The consequences of threats to AI systems can be grouped into categories that highlight their severity. Confidentiality risks include the exposure of sensitive data, such as personal records or proprietary training sets. Integrity risks involve the compromise of predictions, leading to decisions that are manipulated, inaccurate, or biased. Availability risks manifest when AI services are disrupted, preventing access to critical functions in industries like healthcare or finance. Beyond these operational harms lies reputational damage. The loss of trust from customers, regulators, and the public when an AI system is shown to be insecure or untrustworthy. By framing consequences in these categories, threat modeling helps organizations grasp not only the technical impacts of attacks, but also their broader business and societal implications. Red teaming serves as a complementary practice to threat modeling, adding a layer of realism by simulating adversarial behavior. Where threat modeling is largely predictive and theoretical, red teaming is experiential, probing systems with real-world tactics to uncover weaknesses. Structured adversarial testing, such as attempting prompt injections or generating adversarial inputs, validates whether identified threats are truly exploitable. Feedback from these exercises feeds directly into the design of stronger mitigations, ensuring that defenses are not purely conceptual but tested under pressure. Importantly, red teaming is not a one-time activity, but part of a continuous cycle of improvement, evolving as threats and technologies evolve. By pairing threat modeling with red teaming, organizations create a dynamic loop of anticipation, testing, and reinforcement that strengthens resilience across the AI lifecycle. Documentation is another critical component of effective threat modeling. Without clear records, insights can be lost or fail to influence future work. Documenting assumptions about risks ensures that decisions are transparent and can be revisited as conditions change. Recording identified attack vectors creates a historical log of the organization's threat landscape, which can be referenced during audits or security reviews. Capturing the mitigations applied allows teams to track how risks were addressed and provides accountability. Collectively, this documentation serves as both evidence for external stakeholders and a knowledge base for internal teams. It formalizes the process, transforming what could be a series of ad hoc discussions into a traceable and actionable security practice that matures over time. Integration of threat modeling into the AI lifecycle ensures that it is not a one-off activity, but a recurring discipline. During the design phase, teams can map out potential risks before architectures are finalized, preventing costly redesigns later. As models are trained and deployed, threat modeling can be updated to reflect new dependencies, adversarial techniques, or use cases. After incidents occur, reassessments refine the threat model, ensuring that lessons learned become embedded in future defenses. Even at decommissioning, modeling can inform how systems are retired securely, preventing forgotten assets from becoming attack vectors. By embedding threat modeling across the entire lifecycle, organizations align it with the evolving nature of AI systems, creating a culture of vigilance rather than treating security as an afterthought. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. A wide array of tools now supports the practice of threat modeling, helping teams visualize, catalog, and assess risks more effectively. Diagramming platforms can be used to map out attack paths, showing how vulnerabilities in one part of the AI pipeline might cascade into others. Libraries that catalog adversarial techniques, such as those developed by academic and industry groups, provide ready references for understanding the mechanics of poisoning, evasion, and extraction. Automated vulnerability scanners can detect common misconfigurations or weak dependencies, though they must be supplemented with human judgment for AI-specific risks. Collaboration platforms also play a role, enabling security specialists, data scientists, and compliance officers to co-develop and review threat models in real time. By leveraging these tools, organizations move beyond informal discussions, creating repeatable, evidence-backed processes that strengthen both the depth and efficiency of their threat modeling practices. Cross-functional collaboration is essential because no single team holds all the expertise needed to secure AI systems. Security teams bring knowledge of adversarial tactics, compliance obligations, and mitigation controls. Data scientists understand how models learn, where biases may emerge, and what unusual outputs could signify. Legal and compliance teams align threat modeling outcomes with regulatory requirements and ethical standards, ensuring that defenses are not only technical but also socially responsible. Leadership plays a decisive role by setting priorities, allocating resources, and embedding threat modeling into organizational culture. Without this cross-functional input, threat modeling risks becoming narrow, overlooking critical dimensions of risk. With it, the process becomes holistic, addressing AI vulnerabilities not only as technical puzzles, but as organizational, societal, and strategic challenges requiring collective insight and action. Scalability of threat modeling is an important challenge, especially as organizations move from isolated pilot projects to enterprise-wide AI adoption. Modular templates allow teams to reuse standard components, saving time while ensuring coverage of recurring risks. Lightweight processes are necessary for agile teams that need to adapt quickly without being slowed by bureaucratic overhead. At the same time, enterprise-wide programs demand scaling, integrating threat modeling into continuous delivery pipelines so that every new model, update, or feature is automatically assessed. Automation, though not a replacement for expert judgment, helps maintain consistency across diverse deployments. By designing threat modeling to scale, organizations ensure that security considerations remain embedded in growth rather than lagging behind, protecting both innovation and resilience as adoption expands. Despite best intentions, common oversights often undermine threat modeling efforts. A narrow focus on technical risks can blind teams to insider threats or broader organizational vulnerabilities, such as gaps in training or governance. Similarly, failing to consider societal harms like discriminatory outcomes or harmful misinformation reduces the relevance of threat modeling in contexts where AI has real human impacts. Another oversight is failing to update models as risks evolve, leaving outdated assumptions to guide decisions long after they are valid. These pitfalls highlight the importance of treating threat modeling as a living process, one that adapts to new threats, new actors, and new environments. By confronting these oversights head-on, practitioners can build models that are not only technically robust, but also aligned with the shifting realities of both technology and society. Measuring the effectiveness of threat modeling ensures that it delivers tangible value, rather than serving as a symbolic checkbox. Metrics can track the proportion of identified threats that are mitigated, offering insight into how well the process translates into actual protection. Frequency of reassessment provides another indicator, as long intervals between reviews often correlate with missed risks. Recording the results of successful attack simulations, whether through red teaming or adversarial testing, offers feedback on the practical resilience of systems. Benchmarking against peers in the industry helps organizations gauge whether their practices are mature or lagging. These measurements, while not perfect, help turn threat modeling from an abstract exercise into a performance-driven practice with accountability and continuous improvement at its core. Ethical considerations also belong squarely within the scope of AI threat modeling. When identifying risks, it is important to avoid stigmatizing particular groups or communities by overgeneralizing their association with misuse. Practitioners must also recognize the societal impacts of AI, such as reinforcing bias or spreading misinformation, which may not fit neatly into traditional security categories but still cause harm. Balancing openness with security is another dilemma. Transparency about risks encourages trust, but excessive disclosure may harm adversaries. Finally, proportional safeguards are essential. Overly restrictive controls can stifle innovation or exclude legitimate users, while too little protection leaves systems exposed. By integrating ethics into threat modeling, organizations ensure that their defenses are not only technically sound but also socially responsible, reflecting the broader responsibility that accompanies the power of AI. Looking toward the future, we can expect AI-specific threat modeling to become more standardized as both research and regulation advance. Industry bodies and standards organizations are already working to define common approaches tailored to the unique vulnerabilities of artificial intelligence. Shared databases of threats, much like those that exist for traditional software vulnerabilities, are likely to grow, providing practitioners with more comprehensive references. Automation will also play a larger role, using machine-readable models to flag risks dynamically during development and deployment. As regulatory expectations expand, organizations may find that structured threat modeling becomes a mandated practice, much like privacy impact assessments are in certain jurisdictions today. This trajectory suggests that threat modeling will increasingly shift from being an optional best practice to a foundational requirement in the responsible development of AI. Practical takeaways from threat modeling highlight its role as a proactive safeguard. By anticipating risks before they cause harm, organizations can prevent costly and damaging incidents. The distinctive attack surfaces of AI data models and outputs require tailored approaches that go beyond traditional security measures. Collaboration and documentation emerge as critical, ensuring that insights are not lost and that responsibilities are distributed across teams. Most importantly, threat modeling must be an ongoing practice, continuously reassessed as systems evolve and adversaries adapt. This mindset builds resilience into the organization, ensuring that security grows in parallel with innovation rather than trailing behind it. Learners and practitioners alike should remember that threat modeling is not an abstract theory, but a practical discipline that defends both the system and its users. The forward outlook suggests that threat modeling for AI will be adopted across a growing range of industries, from finance and healthcare to media and public services. Regulatory requirements are likely to accelerate this adoption, especially as governments focus on AI accountability and risk management. We can also expect processes to become more automated, reducing the burden on teams and ensuring consistency across deployments. Beyond compliance and automation, a cultural shift is underway. AI security is moving from a niche concern to a mainstream expectation. This cultural emphasis will reinforce the role of threat modeling as an everyday activity, embedded not only in technical workflows but also in the organizational mindset surrounding responsible AI. A summary of key points helps reinforce what we have covered. Threats exist across the entire AI lifecycle, from data collection and training to inference and system-level infrastructure. Actors with diverse motivations, criminals, states, insiders, and activists, seek to exploit these vulnerabilities, leading to consequences that range from confidentiality breaches to reputational harm. Frameworks such as Stride and MITRE Atlas provide shared language and structure, helping professionals communicate and compare findings. Integration of threat modeling throughout the lifecycle ensures that it adapts alongside systems, rather than becoming outdated. Together, these insights build a comprehensive picture of why and how threat modeling serves as a cornerstone of AI security. In concluding, threat modeling for AI systems should be seen as both a protective mechanism and a strategic enabler. By systematically identifying risks, organizations strengthen their resilience and reinforce trust in their deployments. Frameworks and tools provide structure, while collaboration ensures that diverse expertise is brought to bear on complex challenges. Embedding this practice into the lifecycle guarantees that security evolves alongside technological advances. Most importantly, proactive and continuous safeguards prevent adversaries from gaining the upper hand, keeping innovation safe and sustainable. As the field advances, threat modeling will continue to mature, bridging the gap between technical defense and societal responsibility. In the chapters ahead, we will explore adversarial machine learning, a domain where threat modeling and defensive tactics meet the sharpest edge of AI security challenges. Before you move on, assemble a small starter kit so threat modeling becomes a habit rather than an event. Begin by sketching your system as a simple flow of data sources, training processes, inference endpoints, and external tools, noting where trust changes. This visual anchors every conversation. Create a shared glossary that maps your risks to a common framework adapting Stride terms, and cross-referencing MITRE Atlas so teams speak the same language during reviews. Establish a cadence, such as a lightweight 30-minute checkpoint at each major change, to refresh assumptions, retire stale mitigations, and record new ones in a living document. Finally, pick 2 or 3 concrete safeguards you will verify every time dataset provenance checks, dependency integrity verification, and access controls on dashboards, so progress is observable. With a kit like this, your practice becomes predictable, teachable, and auditable, turning threat modeling into muscle memory for your AI program. Thanks for tuning in to Bare Metal Cyber, your trusted source for cybersecurity educational materials, news, and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.